There we go. All right, this is recorded. This is a recorded session. All right. So how many people got wrecked, super wrecked in their portfolio? Huh? Real talk. I'll be happy to say I haven't lost any money during this downturn because I am only in flow products descended of bankroll flow. So I am only in drip. I am only in elephant. I am only in trunk stablecoin. Do I wish I was in other things? Oh, that's not totally true. Oh, that's still a true statement. I have sheep token as well.
I was gonna say.
But yeah, that's my whole crypto portfolio. So if my stuff doesn't work, or if I didn't believe in my stuff, I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. But I think I'm paying my bills pretty well, and I know you guys are too, because I can see the stats. So before we get into it, let's just take a quick view of what the stats look like, the global stats, the stats we care about in elephant money. Okay, so from the top, redemption price is 99, surprise, surprise, 99 cents on the dollar. Zero slippage. What that means is that no matter how large your position, if you wanted to redeem your trunk for BUSD, you would get 99 cents on the dollar, 75% in BUSD, 25% in elephant. A strategy that I hear going around these days is to hold that 25% because, as you know, that 25% isn't taxed. So you get that post-tax. So you don't pay 10%. So you only pay 10% tax when you sell it and you transfer it, basically. So that's a nice little way to basically accumulate elephant at market price without having to pay any fees on it. The LP is working like a champ. We're going to go over why that is, but it's at 99 cents as well. No surprise there. Not a penny over. And I'm going to talk about why that is. The pancake liquidity really is the star of the show right now. It is, like Rovate and a couple other, sort of people that are in the chat way earlier than I am, spend way more time in the chat than I do. We were watching this thing when it was, we remember when it was $10,000. And not even 2 months later, it's $1.3 million. Okay, just to put that in perspective, I mean, this thing only builds up 1% of the flow when you mint trunk only goes to the pancake liquidity. So 10,000 to 1.3 million. This is another way to put it is when you look at that pancake liquidity pool for trunk BUSD, that is the pure profit of this business, of this enterprise. And I want to say it this way, this is not an investment. Elephant money is not an investment. It's not a cult. It is a business, an on business, and everyone here participating is owner of that business. I am here as the custodian there, the for picker upper, if you will. Is to recognize the things and get this, but this is a working product. Everyone here is an owner in that product. I don't want to call it a franchise, but it's not that. But it's an organization for sure. It's such an organization. Just like you deposit, you earn interest off activity, and that's really it, right? What we're doing, this thing is working. If anyone was, is this profitable? Does this thing even make money? one metric that matters other than number of participants, which we'll get to. Only metric that matters. Let me, my machine is acting up a little bit. Let me try to kill some. Give me 1 second. The only metric that matters are, well, two things. The number of participants, and I would argue the simplest metric and the simplest barometer for how we're doing and how we keep track of the wins is how well that Trunk BUSD liquidity pool is doing. Because what does that represent? That represents exit liquidity, right? So if you want to buy a BMW or a Lexus or a Lambo, right? You're going to need some exit liquidity. And so right now we can afford a couple Honda Civics for the community. Quite a bit of Honda Civics for the community. But this thing's going to keep on growing, and it's going to keep that trajectory, right? And that's a really healthy sign, because this thing was not even 1 million, and now it's 1.3, and it will keep going. Let me... Can you guys still hear me?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just gonna kill some things. So one thing I'm gonna have to do with my divs is buy a new computer, because this thing is not cutting it. I got an M1 chip computer. It's an M1 chip and all that good stuff, but it doesn't have enough RAM at all. And this thing just continually is under pressure because I have a tab addiction problem. I can't seem to close tabs. I'm just doing too many things at once. And like maybe 2-3 machines, and I only have one in the middle of a kitchen. So I need to optimize that experience. Anyway, I'm closing a few things, and hopefully we should be back on track. Okay. All right. All right. And you know what I'm going to also do? I'm going to try to join from a different, see if this works. Test. Test.
You should hear me from there.
Okay, you should hear me from there. Let's see. All right, can you hear me from here?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so let me do one thing here. I'm just gonna, my machine is completely fried, but I think if I close it, and you still hear me, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, so now we're doing it from the phone. We're doing it live. All right, so we're gonna do the whole AMA from the phone, which means I need to look at these stats from the phone. So let's continue with these stats here. I'm doing this, by the way, with what I believe is Omicron. So, but I'm already feeling better, and obviously it didn't slow me down. Let's see. So let's see. Okay. So yeah, pancake liquidity, excellent. Collateralization ratio has held up 5.7 times what we need in the elephant treasury to pair up with the, the elephant treasury has to do two things. It has to pay out yield, but it also has to pay out. It also has to pay out the redemptions if they happen. The redemptions increasingly don't have to happen, and people can find that they're either rolling in native staking or they're rolling in Stampede now. Now there's a roll button in Stampede. We'll get to that. There's a roll function in Stampede. We'll get to that. But now, instead of redeeming on the site and redeeming against the cash treasury and the BUSD treasury and Elephant treasury, instead they're just going straight to the Trunk BUSD liquidity pool and trading there, and that's working out great. And what we're seeing is that thing is just like I said before. That's a cash machine, and it's collecting feeds on both sides. People arbitraging all day, redeeming all day, buying into Trunk at a discount all day. I'm going to talk about what we're doing with the various features in Stampede 3.1 that sort of turbocharge what's going on there. So that's one of the things. Like, this is a complete product and service. It's probably better to say that this is a complete service, and obviously we're a long-running community. We've spanned multiple products, multiple services, multiple blockchains, multiple brands, whether it was Party, Bankroll, and now Elephant Money, whether it was Ethereum, Tron, back to Ethereum, BSC. We've had a long-running community, and we've just keep banging on that door for cash flow for all. And now I think we've basically achieved that. And lo and behold, once again, we have this business that's generated $1.3 million in revenue, in just pure profit, right? Like, you can do redemptions without having this pancake liquidity pool here, but it is here. The Elephant Treasury is 107. I don't know exactly what the Elephant BNB liquidity pool is right now, but it's like I said, I shut down my laptop. I can't kill it. It's just doing its thing right now. It's ready to get restarted. We're doing really well. We're probably going to flip the liquidity pool in the next 2 months max. 2 months max. I mean, really, we only have like 20 trillion to go, and we had those whales that sold. That's dropped the price down significantly. That all we would have to do as a community to really get this number up right now from where we are right now, is to Stampede. And what does that mean? That means we're all in projects. Most of these projects outside of Elephant Money are down. That's okay. We'll see what the market does. Even without the market performing, many of us, especially in this DAppHead community, are in other projects like Hex, and so we're waiting on Richard Hart to do his thing. We're waiting on Polkadot maybe to do their thing. We're waiting on Cardano to do their thing. So there's a lot of irons in the fire that can lead to massive spikes in profit for everyone down the road with existing bags, and then we just bring those bags back to the bank. Either way, the flippening is going to happen, and as people use Stampede more, the system during the deposit phase is going to cycle whatever's in the Elephant BNB pool into hard liquidity on the Elephant BUSD side, on that LP pool. But we're also going to with the new roll feature, we're also going to actively build up the Treasury. And that's kind of like a counter mechanism, by simply depositing and onboarding onto Stampede, we're hardening the liquidity, but by rolling, we're taking from the stablecoin, we're taking froth from the stablecoin side, because if you think about stablecoins, because they're pretty much risk-free, any froth in a stablecoin system is going to get captured by speculators and going to exit the system. So now the roll mechanism, one of its jobs is to assess, is there some froth on the LP? Basically, if we're above 1, or if we're above actually 99, because I wanted to actually take the opportunity to get the LP at the desired peg. So now the system is able to actually control the peg. And we have participants in the system on the Stampede side that are actively always claiming, right? Everything in our system is run and operated by the community. So your active involvement, the more participants that come to the platform, the better the system operates and the more efficient it operates. So like, instead of grooming that trunk BUSD liquidity like every hour, 2 hours when somebody decides to claim, that thing could be getting groomed, every minute, even, once we're at scale and have like people from all around the world, every time zone, interacting with the platform and doing what they need to do. Anyway, let's get back to those stats and just run down the other ones that are important. I want to leave plenty of time for questions, and I want to just go over, just to do the quick review of what's going on. Oh wow, we're already above peg. What does that mean? Cash Treasury, it is whatever it is. Again, the pancake liquidity is about to flip the cash treasury. The pancake liquidity, if it keeps moving at the same trajectory that it has been, which basically says we have X amount of participants, they have X amount of TVL and participation, and just by participating in the system, this thing is always building up. There will come a time when the pancake liquidity literally is all of the accumulated profit of this organization, which basically means that 6 months from now, we could be staring at, because of the mechanics of everything, what's backing the actual outstanding tokens that are not in the liquidity pool. I have to stress that the way the math works is, when you're trying to assess the health of the system and the collateralization ratio, that is based on the total supply. Or actually, no, that's not based on the total supply. It's based on the cash treasury, because what it's measuring is what tokens were actually minted, and it's the net tokens that were minted and redeemed. But 1% of the BUSD volume is backed at an ideal 1-for-1 with Trunk. So Trunk is minted. So when you mint Trunk, you get 99 cents on the dollar. That penny mints 1-for-1 Trunk to BUSD, and that is applied as liquidity always. So what can happen is so everything that's in the liquidity pool is basically backed in real time at whatever the LP price is. And that's the way you should see it. And so when you look at the cash treasury, that's why the liquidity, the collateralization ratio is only judged by how big the cash BUSD treasury is, not by the outstanding supply in the pancake liquidity, for example. So that's a important point of discussion and also a point to note in that behavior. So this pancake liquidity pool is going to get outsized, and basically the collateralization ratio, the redemption process in general is going to be a, dare I say, nice to have. It's going to be very interesting, to say the least. I don't think a partially collateralized system. I haven't seen anything that works quite like this and that generates this high yield income. But we'll see how it goes, right? This is still an experiment, but it is going very well, and we've been tested not once, not twice, and now this is probably the largest test, right, that we're going through right now. Participants, 1,200 participants, 1,240 participants. That's amazing, and that's a testament to everyone here on the call, people who will hear this afterwards, people who are joining and in the process of onboarding who are hearing this AMA. This is all you guys, and I gotta say, just keep on pushing. Many thanks to the YouTubers and influencers who have answered the call early on. We need you to keep up your game. I know you're tired. I am very tired. I've been doing this for years now. But this is the payoff. There are literally programs, code bases, the ohm forks, these are things that are losing people money. People lost money before this big red day, before this last couple of days, it's been so red. People have already lost their shirt in the ohm forks. I've lost money in the ohm forks. The only way to get people from not going to those things is to be aggressive on the promotion and stuff. To be honest, it is not for lack of trying. We have the funds. We have the capital to pay for these YouTubers. And for some reason, we still, our outreach efforts aren't firing on all cylinders the way I would like them to. But also beyond that, the more powerful mechanism that we have is that everyone who uses Elephant, especially in Trunk and Stampede, everyone who uses that's an opportunity for you to bring people into the ecosystem. Establish a sponsorship for your kids, the guy who cuts your grass, whatever, wherever you need to give somebody funds, that's an opportunity for a sponsorship or just a P2P transaction. You say, here, I can give you Trunk. You can take that Trunk, you can deposit it here, and you can earn significant income on your savings. So the P2P application and the current Stampede functionality is really bigger than any contrived use case that you could come up with. It's basically cash with a crazy APR, right? And you can get realistic APYs on Stampede as well. So just want to talk about that. But our future is always going to be in our number of users, and we want to grow the herd. Supply is almost 4 million. That's amazing. That's all organic growth. 4 million. Check this out. the market cap of Trunk is literally unbounded. It will grow with the utilization of the platform by the community, with the TVL, that's brought to bear by the community. So the sky's the limit here, right? We've already talked about the pancake liquidity pool. The sky is the limit here. We will be able to soar. And really nothing can stop us. Like there's no price drop. There's nothing that Bitcoin can do. When I post that Jeremy Renner, we don't care what Bitcoin does meme, this is what I mean. I'm not talking about Elephant, because Elephant definitely cares what Bitcoin does. What I'm talking about is the overall platform and ethos of the platform. I want the majority of the users to be living inside of this page, the Trunk Stampede page. And if you live inside the Trunk Stampede page, you're making money, and nobody in no market condition and not that fucked up piece of code called Bitcoin can stop you. Nothing can stop you. The rewards, that's interesting. That just means that we've literally, like, 2.1 million Trunk from the staking system has exited. Like, they basically sold and claimed their rewards. 2.1 million has gone out. So this system's running, right? We got 4 million worth of Trunk, but we've had 2.1 million worth of Trunk that's left the building, probably got converted to BUSD, right? That's what that rewards means. That's pretty amazing. We have 690K worth of dividends that need to get paid out, that are committed to getting paid out. That number keeps growing, right, as people mint and utilize the system, and that gets paid out 1% a day. So what's that mean? That's $7,000 paid out every day, but that's not including what's paid out Stampede. So the staking, a majority of, let's see, supply. I have to look into that. A majority of these coins are staked. Basically, the coins that aren't staked are in the liquidity pool. So basically, take that liquidity pool, divide it in half, right? So that's like 650,000 tokens in the pancake liquidity pool, give or take. Yeah, and that makes up the supply. So most of the supply is staked, and that makes sense because I have to show one thing. I'm going to have to add to the global stats is the new Trunk Treasury. So we are growing a pool in the Trunk Treasury that's sort of buffering Trunk going in and out of Stampede. And so we're still doing what we need to do in terms of massaging liquidity, but we want to avoid doing those hard sells. And I have already had a quick look at DEX tools, and I can see that a lot of the selling that's happening now is not from the Elephant Reserve. So the Elephant Reserve is the point of contact with the pancake router when it's selling. So that has a particular address. I believe ends in like C099. D2, and it starts with D2 and it ends in C099. That is the seller of basically Stampede, the Elephant Reserve, and that iteration of the elephant reserve. It's not the majority seller anymore. As a matter of fact, it's doing a lot of net buys, and it's basically the way it's getting away with that is that Stampede is coordinating and leveraging the new Trunk Treasury. So once again, this is a big web of smart contracts that we can glue together and rearrange in different configurations like Lego blocks. And many of those contracts, are pretty much terra firma now and haven't been changed, like the elephant treasury, the liquidity pools. Obviously those haven't been changed. But anyway, let's quickly get into what the medium, forgive me, I'm just bringing up the Medium article. Okay, so now we're just gonna cover what's in Stampede v3.1. But before we do that, let's check in and see, does anyone have any question on the general global stats for Trunk? Any questions? Oh, I just realized that they might be coming in via text as well. But let's see, who do we have? Either Crypto Mobile or Cross. Can you just, if you do see any questions, just read them off. I give about a minute before I get back to it. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna just keep going. All right. Test. And you guys can still hear me? Just checking.
Yep.
Okay,
yep,
good.
We hear you.
All right, good. Okay, let's get back to it then. Okay, so I started first noticing less than a week ago, but I think a couple of community members noticed that there was a cascade of cells, and we tracked it down to a hacker who had wrote a smart contract to basically select people's accounts, probably same hackers that have been kind of stalking our project all along, trying to capitalize on any defects in the contract. Surprisingly or not surprisingly, we've never lost a ton of money from these exploits. We've always just been annoyed, right? So obviously if they're getting people to claim back to back with the way that I had it implemented, that is going to cause market sells, but we've also seen in normal practice that the system just works flawlessly, and we're able to trend up. We definitely see sells, but we see plenty of buys, and that partly has to do with the momentum of the project at the time, the momentum of the market at the time, but it was working. But this system is designed to work in all market conditions, and so that's great. This is how they train modern AI. They have two networks. They have the training network, and then they have the adversarial network, and those things are, they're trying to trick each other, and that leads to a better neural network that figures out whatever problem space they're trying to solve. So here, okay, fine. There's always going to be hackers, people trying to just exploit our software. They identify issues and we fix them. And sometimes when we fix them, we come up with a whole bunch of other innovations as well, along with trying to fix the exploit. So just from the top to the bottom, the first thing we're addressing is the sponsorship spam. That's a thing of the past. Sponsorships are now staged. You'll be able to see pending sponsorships and the total sponsorships on the sponsorship tab. You can claim a pending sponsorship by making a deposit of one trunk or more. So what that means is, your person will send you a sponsorship. It'll show up as pending on your side. When it shows up as pending on your side, it'll already have counted it in your total, by the way, because that once that money is sent to you, once it's in pending, it is yours. It is just your responsibility to make at least a deposit. Once you make a deposit, that's when those pending funds are actually added to your account. And what that means is we get back to a situation where if a person receives a sponsorship, number one, they're either going to know about it ahead of time, or it's not going to impact their account. They're not going to have money missing in rewards. Like if they haven't logged in for a week, they should expect a sizable amount of rewards to have accrued. You're not going to be able to, right, so you would expect those funds to be there. So when you get there, you're actually going to see those. And then if somebody says, hey, I got a sponsorship, and okay, great, that's going to inform you to click on the sponsor tab. You click on the sponsor tab, you look down, you're going to see your pending rewards there. But you're not going to be surprised. And this gets back to some software development best practices. When you're implementing a system, it's best to try to implement systems that don't have unintended side effects. Side effect free programming, especially with user interface design as well. So in user experience design. So in that case, we definitely want to show that as pending. And because everything's on chain, the person has to take action to actually apply to their account. Now, before, what was happening is there was a side effect, and that side effect was to claim, which means that, okay, oh God, where'd my money go? Oh, did you check your wallet? The money's right in your wallet. It's like, oh, okay, but I didn't know that. Like I just learned about the system the other day, and I didn't know that, and I panicked, and that gave me a bad day or whatever. So that goes away. The other thing is, so that's how the system worked just before releasing this release. In the previous version of this flow architecture, like for cash flow for all, on the Tron network, we had flow v1.2 where a person could do a similar type of thing. They could do sponsorships, they could do other things. They could transfer, they could do airdrops, they could do transfers of balance from one address to another. The problem there is that I didn't pick the correct side effect. I was like, oh well, people should just if they get sent a chunk of change and they have some rewards, we might as well just reinvest them, right? And then their account gets bigger and they make even more money per second, right? That sounds like a good plan, right? Wrong. Denial of service attack. So for large accounts, an attacker, it would be cost efficient for an attacker to spam a large whale account so that the whale could not claim their dividends and sell. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but that's just to say that when building elephants, we got rid of a lot of the sort of nasty things that you will see happen when things get bad in a platform that is built around teams. There should only be one team. For every platform, there should be one team, and everybody should be rowing in the same direction. We have enough competition just competing against the other 10,000 shit coins out there. There's already a ton of competition. You should potentially be worried if you're on a platform that has teams where people are literally competing for members when everybody on the platform should be rowing in the same direction, right? When people are giving different incentives, different messaging, literally saying different things to incentivize people to join them, when everyone should be rowing in the same direction to achieve a common goal, whether that goal is TVL, whether that goal is price appreciation, whatever it may be. In the case of, I would argue for elephant money, TVL is TVL and overall participants, number of participants. Those are our two metrics that matter. The price of elephant is just going to come along for the ride. If we focus on number of participants alone, we'll win. The average, there's an average salary, a median income for people in the U.S. and for the world. $30,000, let it be $30,000, $50,000 per person. And then I think we would maturely change what their average investment portfolio size looks like, right? Because that's just all over the place. Most people don't invest. So I think we could change that, or most people don't own their own business. Every single one of the people participating in Elephant Money, owns a slice of this enterprise and can tell you what percentage they own down to 9 decimal places or 18 decimal places. Anyway, so that's sponsorships. But yeah, we don't have any, we have a way to connect people in a social network. We can ride social networks with this sponsorship feature. But it's I'm not going to say it's a selfless act, because we're incentivized to grow the herd. But for the individual that sends out a sponsorship, yeah, that's a small personal sacrifice to help someone else, to better someone else. And that's why that sponsorship feature is so important. And it's so important that feature works right and works correctly. Okay, so enough of that. We now have a Trunk Treasury. To date, Trunk lives in wallets, the Trunk BUSD LP on Pancake, and in the native staking contract. Now the ecosystem is supported with a Trunk Treasury, and Trunk Treasury is just a smart contract that's whitelisted, that can be coded to accept withdraw commands from various smart contract components, and that's how all our treasuries work. The first use case for the treasury is to smooth out sell pressure against Elephant from Stampede by buffering/recycling Trunk in the ecosystem. So what that means is, like I said before, as people are bonding and burning Trunk, a certain percentage of that Trunk is shaved off from the top, 15% currently, and that's put into a buffer. And that buffer is allowed to build up. So basically, the way that Stampede v3.1 is coded now is it will only service requests that are less than 5% of its total balance. So if it doesn't service a large request, so a large claim, that means two things. Well, one, there's that large claim is either because that person has claimed a long time, But let's say that person does claim every day. That just means that that's a larger account versus all the other accounts. And what that also means is that because it's not claiming from the Treasury for that large account, but that person is still a participant, there's a higher probability that that person is going to make additional deposits and things like that. And 15% of those deposits are going to end up in the Treasury, grows the Treasury. So over time, it's expected that the Treasury will always grow over time. And because of that, we'll be able to service larger and larger requests. And it becomes yet another place where wealth is residing in the system and servicing the needs of the community. So when you're rolling, you're actually leveraging that new trunk treasury. Next feature, you can now roll your rewards and the fees are optimized. So less gas fees when possible. Otherwise, it's just doing a very simple selling or redeeming of trunk against the LP or against the reserve, and then it takes that trunk and puts it into the trunk treasury. That's what happens in a roll. That elephant's currently bought from the BNB pool. It probably will continue to stay that way because one of the things we have to realize is that when we launch this thing, we do have locked liquidity. The elephant token is hard coded against that locked liquidity. So BNB will always be in play. I think that's almost a good thing because we shouldn't be overzealous and not capture the value of being on the Binance platform and the value of BNB since we're pretty much tied to BSC. So I think that's all a good thing. We have to understand that to the best of our ability, we have to lock this thing down and make it as immutable as possible, to the point where if someone was to tamper with the elephant money, if someone were to try to tamper with the elephant money network, they would have to go all the way down to the blockchain. So if they're compromising BSC and CZ and his whole team or whoever, his international team where his only responsibility is Twitter, all that, that's the level they're going to have to go to stop elephant money. As you can tell by the number of times that you have reauthorized access of Stampede to your wallet for transferring Trunk, that several updates have happened. I'll talk a little bit about the reason why you have to always reauthorize. We'll talk about that in a second, but you realize that the network is very malleable right now. We can change it because we need to get it right, but it's very easy to set that in stone and basically revoke access at some point. That point is not now. So I talked about what happens with a roll, okay? So along with rolling, and I hinted at this earlier, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this to read it. Pancake Trunk BSC LP pegging is now implemented. The roll feature now enables us to capture value that quickly accrues in Trunk and direct it to the elephant treasury via buybacks. The algorithm will favor Pancake if the slippage is less than 1%, or whatever we configure the acceptable slippage to be. Currently, slippage is configured to 1% to match the redemption fee of 1% on the elephant reserve. Okay, so I just want to talk about enabling bonding really quickly. Okay, you may notice as these updates are pushed that you have to enable bonding again. This is intentional. We do not use proxies to on-chain functionality. When the contracts do change, we believe all participants should be made aware and decide whether to continue to participate. For that reason, contracts that accept user funds must be authorized each and every time there is an update. And what I neglected to mention was, sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, so just wrapping up this update. So that's all, folks, for this release. What next? Well, we are working with marketing and development partners to take Elephant to the next level. What that concretely means is I've been on the hunt for a PR agent. I've been on for Elephant Money. I've been on. I have relationships with development partners. It's time to spin those up. It's actually costs a little bit less to spin up development partners versus marketing partners, believe it or not. And a lot of that is because the development that I have, the development that I need to complete beyond what's already here is not necessarily smart contract development, but more like analytics, reading from the blockchain, and website stuff. We're probably going to get a whole revamped website, if definitely not for the homepage, and doctor up the theme a little bit. We'll have light dark theme at a minimum, and probably a new skin on what's already there. So there'll probably be two projects. There'll probably be like a very short-term project that adds those types of features, some architecture on the front page, make it nice and homely, explainer videos, get our localization done. We'll do all of that with the existing JavaScript client code base. We'll get some designers in there to spruce up the theming for the HTML. Because of the focus now for the project, we only have literally 2 pages to worry about. Well, almost 3 pages, maybe 4 pages if we count the V2 pools. But probably the V2 pools will only be accessible with this current code base for the front end. And then on the new site, they won't even exist. So, there'll be like a legacy button that you click and you can go back and interact with the V2 pools with the current code base. That works at a minimum, and not necessarily going to be completed by end of Q2 or Q1, but it will definitely be completed by the end of Q2. It's not really a 6-month project, but for whatever developers I bring on board, there may be a small learning curve, but definitely all the code is there, and all I'm asking to do is skinning work. So an exceptional developer could probably knock it out in less than 3 weeks. I probably, if I was just tasked with a skinning exercise, I could probably get it done in less than 3 weeks. So we'll see. But there's just a little bit of overhead. Probably just want to work with designers and UX experts to, obviously one of the things that has made Bankroll easy to use and easy for me to bang out like new functionality is that there's a basic design language that we've come to understand. It's very simple, and whatever someone does, there needs to be a translation from the current design language to whatever the new design language may be, including just knowing that we have a long-standing, long-running community, keeping that design language, making some aspects of it configurable, like, for example, how numbers are presented in the user interface, whether they're fully expanded or whether, they're, or whether we use units of accounting, thousands, millions, billions, whatever, all that stuff. We'll figure it out. Let's see. Yeah, so right now we have one of the best passive income platforms on the planet. In addition, Trunk can be leveraged to great effect as a P2P means of value exchange, pegged to USD, of course, and also as a means of time-lapse value distribution, otherwise known as an allowance, salary, annuity, whatever you want it to be. But basically, it's going to pay out over time 2x what you put in, and you can add more at any time. So that's a very flexible building block that individuals can definitely use ad hoc right now for other people. Like I know there is, I don't know if it's crypto specific, but there an editor is going to be paying his authors using sponsorships. And, we have some folks helping to onboard in that process. So you can think of all kinds of ways if you own a business, if you have regular income, how you can accelerate that income by using things like Stampede and native staking. But anyway, that's the update for Stampede 3.1. I think the best thing that we can do right now is to actually use the system. Now, one thing I'll say about this market correction is that we see the danger of, okay, you want to make mad gains, sick gains, right? Okay, you have two options, and like there are two premium or prime ways that you can make sick gains on this platform. You can go into Stampede where you can do a 6x on your money. That's amazing. Or you can go into Elephant, which has been doing this really nice chart. But we're still backed by BNB for now, and we probably always will be, right? A certain percentage of our funds, it's going to be, our working funds are going to be backed by BNB. And when BNB takes a correction, we're going to go down just as well as when BNB soars, we're going to soar. So that's the compromise, and that's where we're at right now. But if we all went 100% to Stampede, our chart would still be over 5 cents per million. It'd be over 5 cents per million because we probably would have been at 10 cents per million and no one would have ever dumped, right? And we'd be scraping off the top to pay out our yield, and no one would ever be taking profit on the elephant side and dumping. So that's just something to think about. If you're a whale now, I would definitely say now's not the time to be making moves. If you're an elephant holder, really our job is to just sit around and just collect reflections. We shouldn't even be worrying about price this market cycle. Another way to put it is, if you do want to make any type of significant money or income from this play right now, I would suggest, and this is, I'm giving you strategy. It's not financial advice. Ultimately, you're going to have to make your own decisions, but I'm just trying to give you the best advice. Think of me like a chess coach. I'm literally just teaching you, but when you sit down at that board and you tap the clock, it's your game, right? But in general, for this market cycle, especially the way it's playing out and with all the uncertainty out there, if you want to be in the game, if you want to participate with the herd, the best place is Stampede. And when I say the best place is Stampede, if you need funds to live off of and you need to be cashing out and buying Lambos or even just paying rent, then maybe buy some elephant and figure something else out. But like, but really for this market cycle, we're trying to retain as much TVL as possible, attract as many users, and just grow. Like I don't use Stampede for living expenses or anything like that. I'm literally just trying to grow my position, going into what potentially might be a bear market, and yeah, just keep building. And I'm also in other plays. Like I said, I am in Drip. Drip is a derivative of my own work. So and so I know it works. There are innovations in TRUNK which make it a viable stable coin, which were proven out before I built Stampede. But when I built Stampede, I just simplified what was in Drip. I took all the MLM crap out. I took the referral stuff out. I've made it a fair playing field, so that we all row in the same direction. None of us has advantage over the other. The price is always stable, and it works like any other community banking system where, people take out what they need. We all have a vested interest in taking care of this business. One thing that I want to kind of correct the behavior on right now, because it needs to be said, floating those spreadsheets and stuff around with these unrealistic numbers, hyper compounding and all that stuff, this system moves around real money. It makes real transactions every time you compound or roll a number. And it's still doing that. I've already explained how that works tonight. So those spreadsheets do not work in your favor. That is not a pathway to success. There's no free lunch. Let me tell you how this works. You're going to have to put your money in. You have to let your money sit there and work for the system. You see what the system can do. It can actually build returns. It can actually capture value, capture fees. The Trunk BUSD pool proves that. Our liquidity proves that. This liquidity will be around when I'm gone, when you're gone. So what this is about is building generational wealth. The way we build generational wealth is we have to throw a shit fuck ton of money into this thing right now, push that AMM, push the constant product formula, raise the price of Elephant, increase the number of holders, increase the TVL. We will not win by trying to simply throw in $1,000 in hyper compound to buy a pickup truck. I'm not picking on anybody right now. So what do? Like, we have to stampede. Like, we already saw, those guys still sold a loss. Those two whales that sold, they still sold at a loss. Well, that's not true. They didn't sell a loss, but they could have sold for much higher. They definitely sold in a downtrend, right? They probably got in around, some of them, one of them might have gotten in around like 2 cents per million, so, some significant, some profit, but trillionaires should be looking at what the profit's going to look like in the next cycle, after we're already a household name, after our PR agent has already gotten us on Forbes and CNN and Fox News or whatever the hell, Fox Business, wherever we need to go to get in front of the masses, and people are actually have joined us and the herd is large. that's, we got to get to safe moon size and beyond. That's when you start worrying about selling your elephant, at least. And really for Stampede, like, feed that balance, treat it like I would say it's more like an intermediate between current income and retirement. But, I'm using other platforms to pay my bills, and I'm just growing this thing because that's where we are right now. We're still teeny tiny. We need to get to, I would suspect, we need to quickly get back on track, get to 100 million, and I really want us all to be rowing in the same direction to get to 500 million and then a billion. We get to a billion. I mean, if because of the makeup of this community, because we're the DAC community, we're the passive income community, all that stuff, we have the opportunity to seize the moment with this downturn and get in front of Safe Moon, Shiba Inu, all those, maybe Shiba is a stretch, but like, we can get to that billion mark if we really just focus on getting new users and adding TVL and adding TVL in the right place, adding TVL into the stablecoin, just get people into staking, like, get them to use this as their savings account and treat it like a savings account. They're not trying to spend money out of it. They're not trying to live off of it. They have their own job or they have their own way they're making money now. But, get them in staking and get them to load up that TVL. That will feed the Treasury and get us to where we need to be. And we can become a household name. And then I think the other opportunity we have is, like you said, many of us are in other plays like Pulse Chain and stuff, and PulseX and Cardano, and those are like the bigger plays where when things start rocking and rolling, we'll make serious multiples. Sheep Token. But I would say maybe not Sheep Token. Sheep Token is another way you earn significant funds, and I'm working on that project. I'm advising on that project. I think I think Sheep Token will be another drip, except better. But so we make significant income there, and I think obviously you can peel some of it off and save it into Trunk and stuff. But it'll have nice floating tokens all over the place and nice tokenomics, like up-only tokenomics, which hopefully can perform well in all market cycles, which I think it will be able to. But yeah, let's take some questions. I don't even know how. Okay, so that's only a little over an hour and 15 minutes. Not bad. Let's take some questions. And just do the raise your hand thingy, and I will turn you on. I think let's see. Hold on a second. Native. Okay. Native, are you there? See you listening.
I'm here, man.
Hey,
how's
how's it
everybody
going?
doing? All is well. All is well.
Yeah.
Great presentation. Great presentation.
Any like
what I was just describing was piggybacking off of what you just said. I was just describing that in the chat, responding to, I believe, Mr. Carmen. Ultimately, all you have to do is what every salesperson does, which you don't even have. This is one of those products you don't even have to sell. But once you have to sell yourself first, and that's basically tinkering around under the hood, finding out it works, just like every other system we've had. But this one right here doesn't take long to realize it works. And once you've sold yourself, you just share the good news. And it's just that simple.
So the question, so the question he was asking was like, how do I share this? Or
actually, he wasn't even asking a question. He was making a good comment based around growing numbers, growing exposure, growing user base, and just basically saying, look, if everybody just brought one friend in, then we would just go to a whole nother plateau, which is absolutely true. But my response was just that I think that we could do way better than that, because once you're sold yourself, I mean, you don't want to hold good news in. Nobody does. Nobody wants to hold good news in. So from there, it's just on ramping, and even that is gonna start to come a little easier and easier over time. Some of us have been around so long, it's easy for us to kind of help somebody, especially with something like Stampede sponsorships, which is a gold mine more than I think people even recognize. But yeah, that's what that was.
okay, you wanna expound a little bit on what you think about the sponsorships, or how do you think we could leverage them?
Yeah, I think sponsorships are. I think this is a tool that this space is really needed for a long time. Something that can sponsor like a someone to be able to have not only a savings pocket, if you will. You can just say, listen, I'm going to sponsor you a position here. All you got to do is basically learn how to drive the car, right? And we can sit down with that. We can, work with that together. Like you said, I mean, if you have a business, for the example that you just gave, I'm going to be hiring writers. We're going to have these writers. I'm going to have authors that are going to be working on my blog. I'm going to pay them in Stampede sponsorships. This is putting them in a position where they have to learn how to drive the car. I mean, stuff like that is just so simple, but it's profound, because truthfully, everyone communicates all the time about how it's hard to beat inflation, especially in this day and age. But we literally have the tool right here. And all we have to do is expose people to it. All we have to do is get them to understand, hey, this works. This is how you can make this work. And there's multiple ways for you to make this work for yourself, i.e. turn it into an interest-bearing account, use it as a business. You can put all kinds of different clothes on what we're doing here, but we all have a piece of that pie. So in terms of what I was saying to him, or really what I was saying to the community in general, which is that I think we can do way better than just exposing one friend to it. Because once you're sold on it, I mean, once you're sold on something, you don't want to start talking about it. Once, I went and got a Dyson vacuum cleaner. It's a freaking vacuum cleaner, right? But I haven't been able to stop talking about that Dyson since I bought it, because it's fantastic. I love it. It's like the best vacuum cleaner I ever got. So it's not about the vacuum. So it's like after I got the vacuum cleaner, I just kept telling people, "Oh man, the Dyson, forget about it," right? Well, I mean, it's the same thing with Stampede. So the same thing with Stampede, or anything that actually works. The same thing that happened with Drip, right? I'll leave that there, but hey, everything that we've ever touched that we work with, it works. You were right about that, by the way. Sidebar. We'll talk about that a different time.
Right. Yeah.
But it's so ultimately we just got to spread the good news, like we always do, and I feel like it will, just like it was doing, and it still is doing. As people see momentum, they attract like magnets to momentum. So the momentum is still here, and we obviously still have it. And once that's reflected on Gecko and everything else like that, I mean, we're just going to stand out like a sore thumb, especially if we stay in a downtrend for a few months. Come on,
Right, and I think that's the other. I think you touched onto something. There's less fear here, even though we're in red times. Some people might be hesitant to get their friends or family into anything. But if you've already gotten them into crypto, or if they're already into crypto, then you kind of owe it to them to show them where this safe haven is. One thing that differentiates us from pretty much everything but all the other stable coins on the chart is that there's no bad time to get on the money making side of the platform, the place where I want you to be. If I had to choose two places, there's a front office, which is Trunk Stampede, and there's a back office, which is Elephant, which is simple. Elephant is the simplest back office in existence. In that middle office, where all the middle management sits, is all smart contracts been coded up, and it's a whole bunch of knowledge over many years baked into that middle office. But on the back office side, all you got to do is just hold the token, put it in your ledger, and let it sit. Just wait for two cycles or 3 cycles to pass, and then all of a sudden you're like
you're sitting pretty.
Sitting pretty. That's easier than saying millionaire. That's better than saying millionaire. I had to stop myself.
Exactly.
How many zeros are we gonna knock off?
Right.
As a community.
Kill those zeros. One of the best stickers that they got right there. Kill those zeros, because that's the name of the game. This is gamification, and I think that we all need to understand that this is all gamified, finance gamified, and it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be the dawn of a new age type of feeling, There's so many opportunities around the bend, even when it comes to metaverse. People are moving in different directions and trying to get positioning and whatnot. Who's to say we can't have some kind of digital presence, right? We own a business, guys. We own a business. We own a product that could be on a shelf somewhere, even if it was digital. So, I mean, there's a lot in our future. We just need to, spread the good word. And we need to use the system and not try to game the system, even though it is a game. But it's a game that is set up already for us to win. And not just that, but with the maximum security, which I believe always gets people with this very fortified feeling, because of your lengthy experience, your background, us and our track record, and what we've been able to, the different types of things that we've been able to deal with in our community. Like you said before, I mean, we haven't had to deal with huge exploits and this and that. I mean, people make huge exploits out of the smallest things that we've experienced, but those have been small. That has been nothing compared to what some of these other things that make the news and these other platforms and whatnot. So, I mean, look at this. Look at the security and the safety. Like you said, I mean, this is a safe haven. We owe it to people, if we have got them into crypto, to expose them into Trunk, to expose them into Stampede, to tell them, hey, look, you can get some passive income with some of this elephant too.
Right.
Get this trifecta. Let me tell you what this is about. We actually owe it to them. If you've turned anyone onto crypto and put them in the game, you owe it to them to put them. Well, at least show them this opportunity, because you can't do anything for someone. They have to do it for themselves. That's what we're doing here. So we do owe it to them.
We do, and I would say along those lines, if you're worried at all, if you have any trepidation, just look at one of the metrics that matters, and that's that Pancake LP, that
Correct.
Trunk BUSD Pancake LP. That if people want to get in the elephant, fine. Know the risks. It's just like any other token, and there's a significant amount of holders. We are very distributed, but we've seen what some whales could do, can do, did do. That can always happen. You see that on the front office side. What bear market? What whale?
Let me say that not to cut your wisdom, that is what was the selling point right there for many people. I noticed them chatting and saying, I'm right now bearing witness to the fact that these top whales are selling and it's not even really damaging the price. So for what that's worth for all the price heads out there, we've already tested the system even in that aspect, and we sat there and watched that. I mean, that we always get these stress tests right on time, and I feel like that was the perfect stress test. The top two holders, not to just shave off some profits, but to just show us exactly where we're at by selling their whole bag. I wouldn't have thought. I wouldn't have thought you could have told some. I wouldn't have thought you could have talked anyone into doing that. But we got to get some valuable data from that as a community. So, that's powerful stuff. And if anything, people should be, which they are, and I can tell, even more fortified in their position and what Stampede can do and what Trunk and the staking and even Elephant itself. Because it's all hand in hand.
Right. And it's all a function of us building incrementally. It's a function of the fact that the elephant is broadly distributed and we've had time to accrue that liquidity, build up that organic liquidity. And the platform, the protocol has prioritized building liquidity as well in the Treasury. But just like get back to my point, if anybody is fearful about getting other members in, and even yourself, I don't know if I want to put more TVL in or whatever. Realize that we have to add more members and we have to add TVL. That is how we win. We have to stampede. We have to cause a dust storm. We have to make a lot of noise. That's what we have to do. We have to grow. It is not okay to roll your way to riches. There is no roll your way to riches. No, you have to add people who add more money. We have to build that base, right? That's how we got to where we are now. All you guys FOMOing in. And now that we FOMOed in, you've seen the protocol's been stressed, the community's been stressed, and we've held strong, right? So some of us have been here the whole time. Some of us are new members, but we're here now. And then we got hit and we stood strong. But now is the time to continue to do what we do best, and that is to grow. We have to keep growing even in this bear market. There's no reason why we shouldn't be growing in this bear market if it is in fact a bear market. If it's not a bear market, then BNB will shoot back up in price, and we will have accrued a lot of cheap BNB, and all our metrics should start soaring. So that'll be great. But where they be lacking is the number of users, the number of participants. So yeah, everyone has to at least start with getting that one extra friend so we can keep on doubling and have them do it. We got to keep on doubling geometric progression. That's how we win.
Exactly.
If you're worried about, oh my God, then go light on the elephant. Use Trunk, or even just use the staking, native staking, right? And know that Trunk BUSD liquidity pool is there. That is our metric for success. It's growing, and that's your exit liquidity. And that's not going. I will tell you now, there is absolutely zero smart contract risk there. It is not going anywhere. It's been audited by CertiK a zillion times. that particular code base across multiple blockchains. Those funds are one-to-one. It's a freaking dollar, 99 cents on the dollar. That's where you can exit. And unless you got 5 million, which I know you don't got $5 million on the platform, because there's only 3 million. There's only 3 million. Only 4 million trunk period, right? And only 3 million in bonds. So that's where the exit liquidity is. This system is solvent. So we have to. So as a community, we have to decide right now: do we want to win or not? And if we want to win, we got to keep feeding the beast. And what I'm doing, you track my wallet or whatever, I'm storing all my my daily divs from all over the place. I'm giving them to Stampede. And the only reason I'm doing it is because, well, one, all these little shit coins, look at them. Let's be real. Look at them. Let's give ourselves a round of applause and look at all those other shit coins. Look at them. Why are you holding on to them? They're not going to do anything. They're going to do the same goddamn thing they did last market cycle. I don't care if it's an L1. I don't care if it's this or that. I don't care what it does. It's going to fail. Bitcoin is failing. They don't even want Bitcoin to win.
They're going to get drained out. And after the second, I'm doing the exact same place, stampeding all the way, hodling my elephant, et cetera, just pulling in from everywhere that I still kept all my principal plus. I keep the principal plus in those other systems, as you and I have talked before. And then we just keep that there, and it's always pulling some more divs. And you're taking those divs, and now we finally found the perfect last stop for those divs,
Right.
I'm glad you just mentioned the $99 with Trunk and everything. We had a question in AMA just pop up. Coco was referring to someone else's question, I believe. CoinMarketCap's reflection on Trunk. When is that going to be able to be reflected? Shadow says just use the platform. Who cares about CMC? The reason, Shadow, is because it's about being able to be seen on the world stage, so to speak. So Coco says, is there a way to see Trunk token on PancakeSwap as an official token with the logo and everything, and not have to import it manually? From my knowledge, I think that's a PancakeSwap thing. You might want to go further into that, though.
Yes. So that is part of the. I classify it as marketing efforts or administrative efforts, and that is part of the work that we'll be doing in Q1 and that we've started. So, part of the vetting process is getting people that can really professionals that can really drive the ball there. I could do the work, but my job at this point, one of my jobs at this point is actually to do less work. You look at CZ, CZ, his role at Binance is as chairman, whatever, is really as a chief strategist at this point, and he does the tweets. He does a lot of the tweets, but that's it. He doesn't actually have any more operational responsibilities, and right. that is one of my goals for this project as well. It's part of the things that de-risk the project long term, and so that's why I'm working so hard now, and so heads down with the coding and stuff like that, is to get this to a point where it's 100% on Rails. We have the multi-sig wallets, but to a certain extent, we start to revoke access where it makes sense. But this, right now, that's still a ways out. But we're working very aggressively in these first 2 quarters to really get this to feature complete for what it is right now. So when we talk about, for example, when we talk about multi-chain and things like that, I think that the elephant ecosystem is going to live and dominate BSC. And we're going to bring people to BSC. We're going to bring people to Binance. We're going to be a asset to Binance. As we continue our marketing, our long-term marketing and partnership efforts, we're going to be in lockstep with Binance, and live here. And then
another perfect point.
Yeah.
Perfect point. Being in lockstep with Binance. At some point, CZ himself and Binance as a whole, those who move are big movers in Binance in general, are going to start recognizing, being that we're so tied to BNB, that they're going to start recognizing our growth and momentum as well, and seeing how we are have a symbiotic relationship. So I just wanted to put that in there while you finish your thought.
That's exactly it. When people ask, are you going to list on exchanges? Yes. That token will be TRUNK. If any token does, for whatever reason, escape into other ecosystems, that token will be TRUNK. You know, and home base will be here with Elephant on BSC. So it's kind of like when you look at,
makes sense.
Yeah, if you look at like Magic Internet Money and Abracadabra, home base is still Ethereum stuff.
Right.
So, but okay. So, any more quick questions? I think we can probably at least end the recording. So the recording not so long. Let me do that.